Forgive me, the camera shut off for some reason as I'm finishing up our Bible study this week for October 14th. So we just have a minute left of it, and I hope you're able to catch this last few minutes as I close out our study for the week. We were talking about how wisdom from above and how wisdom that from earth or earthly natural wisdom are absolutely different, and how we have seen exhibited throughout government entities, throughout even churches. We've seen wisdom that is natural and earthly and not from above. Even demonic wisdom that Satan would want heralded. That's where I was going as the camera cut me off, so please forgive me for that. Let me just finish up with this thought as I'm looking at verses 13 through 13 through 15, really, is where we're at today in our Bible study. As we see the idea of bitter jealousy, selfish ambition, and arrogant suppression of the truth being at the root of wisdom that's earthly or not godly. This is what we've seen exhibited throughout most of our lives in various places, and I would say to even a larger degree in the past probably 20 or 30 years. Demonic earthly wisdom that is heralded and celebrated is what we've seen, and this is dangerous. And where I want to take us as we wrap this Bible study up is here. I want to go this way. We have to be like James, recognizing that when we see falsehoods, we discern false, and we don't support it at any level. If there's some good in a leader of a church, but a lot of false, we don't support it. No. It's not okay to have the falsity. I see wisdom that's earthly mingled with maybe something good. No. If we see leaders in government, for sure. But certainly when we see leaders in the church or leaders in a home, false and truth cannot exist or coexist peacefully. And we must be like James to confront it gently, but speaking it nonetheless. Speaking truth. And how are we to know the truth if we're not engaging the Word? How are we to know the truth if we don't read through James and say, well, James says we need to take on a kind of wisdom that's from above, and it's exhibited in particular ways that are gentle at the front of it. It's right off the bat. It's a gentle form of wisdom. Again, not confronting. It's not lacking a confrontation. It might be confronting false, but it's doing so gently, not arrogant. Arrogant is the word here when it says to suppress the truth or lie against the truth. Arrogance is the root of that. We know, we've seen that. And again, being that it's an election year, it's easy to bring this up. When I watch the debates, the most arrogant, non-presidential look at things is what both parties had. It was really distasteful. And as a Christian, I don't support that kind of leadership, whether it's in government, in a church, or in a home. And we shouldn't, biblically speaking, support anything that's such heralding arrogance and it's thumbing nose at God and His truth. Bitter jealousy, selfish ambition, arrogance, suppressing the truth in arrogance. This is what is at the root of the kind of wisdom that is coming from the natural man, that is earthly. And James even goes to say it's demonic. And here's where I'm going to wrap it up. When we see this kind of logic that's considered wise by the world, when we identify it, at the root of it all, it's demonic. It is from the hand of the minions of Satan. It is something supernatural at the root of it. And it's not a supernatural that's divine from God. It's supernatural that's demonic, that is God opposing from in itself, in its own being. The thinking is from one who is God opposing. This is what we have to see. We will not get to the bottom of false things, God opposing falsities. We will not get to the bottom of them. We will not get to the root of them to uproot them unless we come to the Word of God that is true and address matters from a spiritual standpoint first. You cannot resolve the matters in a household. You cannot resolve the matters in a marriage. You cannot resolve the matters of the church. You cannot resolve matters in the government unless you go to the root, which is spiritual. They cannot be resolved. They never have been resolved in any government, in any household, in any marriage, in any church. They've never been resolved. From the history of the world up through today, trying to resolve matters of ungodly, earthly wisdom from the top down. They've never been able to be resolved because they can't be. It has to be rooted spiritually. Otherwise, we're not going to get to the demonic part. And James is the one who says it. I don't have to look for a ghost behind every door. James said it. So, where are we going today? To close this out, wisdom that is earthly or not godly or God opposing. It is something that we see that is heralded in the world, across the social settings, across the homes, even in churches, and it's wisdom that is selfish in its ambition. It is wisdom, it is logic that is arrogant and suppresses truth. It lies and pushes the truth away, and it is wisdom that at its root is demonic. Identify this, Christian. Identify this. See that all of the things that we might be battling with in terms of wisdom and what is true and what is false, at the root of it, it is spiritual. It has to be dealt with that way. And when we get into the matters of godly wisdom soon, it's going to be off in the next Bible study some. When we get into that, you're going to see that it's a spiritual matter as well. Godly wisdom is not wisdom that we drum up on our own. It is divinely placed. It is something supernatural as well. That's how to fight. Remember that we don't battle against flesh and blood, but we battle against powers that are unseen. This is the same when it comes to battling falsities in terms of logic and what the world considers wise and what the church or godly biblical Christians consider as wise. Hear it now, because James said it. He was provocative, and if it's provoked you to want to fight in a way with words and be like, well, I don't think that's what James was saying. That's what James would want us to do. He'd want us to argue these points until we get it. So contact me if you have questions about this or concerns about this. We want to go back and forth with this, not in an ungodly way, but in a way where we can learn that God has for us a kind of wisdom that he lavishes on those, as we read in James 1. He lavishes liberally a wisdom from above. This is the kind that God is wanting us to seek. But if we don't think rightly about these things or even think about them at all, we're not going to be able to pursue the kind of wisdom that God has for us. So I'm going to finish up this look at ungodly wisdom at the beginning of our next Bible study, because in verse 16 we see what the end result of earthly wisdom is. We're going to see the end result of it, and it's not a pretty thing. That's going to help us transition into where godly wisdom comes from and what godly wisdom looks like. So until next time, we will see you in Bible study. Hopefully I'll see you Sunday at church. Don't forget, jpmock@hotmail.com, or you can contact me through the church. I look forward to talking with you if you want to discuss these matters as we finish up through James. God bless. We'll see you Sunday.